Hello there, my name is Stimpee. Welcome to a brand new video where today I'm going to be talking about No Man's Sky and what it could have been. And I say could, not should, because I understand that people enjoy the game how it is at the moment. These are just ideas and opinions to what would have made the game more enjoyable to someone like myself. But before I go over these points, I think it's important to remember that this is just an indie game and was made by a relatively small team of about 15 members. But on the other hand, they are selling it for $60 US, which is the same price of what you would pay for a AAA game. So, yeah. Firstly, I think they should have made the game multiplayer. Pretty much from the get-go when the game was announced, it was kind of iffy and no one really knew whether or not the game was going to be multiplayer or single player or they would have multiplayer elements. And it was actually listed on Steam as a multiplayer game up until recently, about a day or two before the game was actually released, where they scrapped the multiplayer tag. I know a lot of people I talked to about the game prior were actually expecting the game to be multiplayer, but no, that wasn't the case. Now, the developers have actually said that there is some sort of multiplayer aspect to the game where you can, see planets that people have visited and you can actually see other people in the universe. But I think that was debunked when two people actually tried to meet up on the same planet and they couldn't even see each other when they were in the exact same spot. So I don't think you can actually come across people, at least not yet. So yeah, the game definitely should have been multiplayer. You should have been able to explore the world and the universe with your friends, build colonies, all that kind of fun stuff, but that wasn't the case. So what I'm talking about with the multiplayer gameplay is something more styled around Rust or Ark Survival Evolved, where you find a spot, you build a base, you gather a bunch of different resources, you play with other people, you battle over equipment, gear, materials, and all that other stuff. And I think that would have been really cool to see with a space theme attached to it. So how exactly would have that played out in the game? So first things first, I would have cut the worlds down from 18 quintillion, because that number is just ridiculous, no one's ever going to see that many planets. I would have gone down to maybe 1 to 200 different worlds, but made them more unique, added a lot more detail into them, and make them feel like their own different area. And of course, you could have just kept them procedurally generated, which would have been fine. And how I think this would have worked well is if these worlds actually supplied you with different supplies and materials. So maybe you got to go to one world to get wood, you got to go to another one to get stone, metal, another world to get gems, maybe one world has food and water, so you got to basically go between these worlds to get the things that you'll need to survive. So this kind of forces people to explore the universe to see where they can get all these different materials from. And I think it would have actually been cool to see if a few different worlds had really high tier items, or maybe they have a mix of basically everything, so you can go to a world and get metal, stone, wood, food, water, and of course those worlds would be highly contested over, so you'd have a bunch of different groups fighting over them. So you'd have people trying to get the good spots, building their base there, and basically just having access to all the good stuff. Which means you could choose to be on a world where there's more conflict, but obviously more materials. Or you could kind of try and isolate yourself on a planet that's further away but only has a few different materials. Which I think would have been really cool to see people actually fighting over all these different things, but maybe that's just me. Then of course there is base building, which is in pretty much every other survival game. So you'd be able to get up all these resources and materials, build a base like you normally would, and it just gives you something else to do. So you're not just fighting other people or exploring, you're actually adding another element of progression so they can bring all the stuff back that you get and just keep building upon it, which is kind of like a must in these types of games, isn't it? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are just interested in putting hours and hours into a base and making it look really cool. Next thing is crafting, which is already in the game, but they could have added in a bunch of different weapons, gear, medical supplies, obviously base building supplies, all that kind of stuff. So the foundation for it was there, it obviously just needed to be built upon for a multiplayer type experience. Another thing that's in the game is space battles, or pirates, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, you're up in space and you're in your ship and you're shooting at other things or other people. I think this would have been really cool to experience with other players, so just like crafting, you would get all the different resources and materials you need to expand on your ship or your spaceship, and then go out there and shoot other players, and maybe if you destroy them you can collect their stuff, like their scraps, and that can go towards making other ships or bases, all that kind of stuff. Definitely something that could have been worked on to kind of support the multiplayer experience. Anyway, in conclusion, I think if No Man's Sky had been developed as a multiplayer game, borrowing elements from Rust and Ark Survival Evolved, but set in space with fewer worlds, conflict over more resourceful planets, base building, and a more in-depth crafting system. By keeping to an exploration-based theme, it would have been a game that appealed to a larger audience, and one that would have likely been around for years instead of disappearing over the next couple of weeks, but again, that's just my opinion. So if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said in this video, go ahead and write it down in the comments. I would really be interested in seeing what you guys have to say and what you guys think about it. Anyway guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely day and take it easy. Bye bye.